At 68 years old, Samuel, a retired pilot living in a quiet suburb of Charleston, South Carolina, thought he had aging figured out. His days were filled with long walks by the beach, tending to his vibrant backyard garden, and laughing with neighbors over sweet tea. Despite a few creaky joints and a slower pace, Samuel believed he was doing just fine. He hadn't seen a hospital bed in years, and he wore his independence like a badge of honor. Everything changed during a routine wellness visit. His new doctor, concerned about Samuel's true functional health, asked him to perform a simple test. One Samuel shrugged off with a chuckle, but when he struggled, needing to brace himself heavily to stand, the doctor's expression grew serious. "Samuel," he said, voice heavy with concern, "this movement could predict if you'll still be here in 5 years." In that chilling moment, Samuel realized he'd been ignoring a silent alarm his body had been sounding for months, maybe years. A basic movement, so deceptively simple, now stood between him and the life he hoped to keep living. What he learned next shook him to his core, and it could save your life too. Over 65? Type 1 now to see the simple movement that could predict your future. Samuel couldn't shake off the doctor's words as he drove home that afternoon. The simple act of standing up without support, something he never gave much thought to, now loomed over him like a dark cloud. That evening, in the privacy of his sunlit living room, Samuel decided to test himself again. He sat cross-legged on the floor, took a deep breath, and tried to rise without using his hands or knees. His body betrayed him. He wobbled, reached instinctively for the coffee table, and almost toppled over. Embarrassed even though he was alone, Samuel sat there for a long moment, staring at the worn carpet beneath him. A wave of fear washed over him. Not fear of death itself, but fear of losing the vibrant, independent life he loved. That night he couldn't sleep. Memories flooded his mind. Holding his grandson's hand on the pier, dancing barefoot with his late wife under the stars, fixing up the old Chevy truck in his garage. He wasn't ready to let go of these moments, and he certainly wasn't ready to surrender to a fate that, until now, he hadn't even seen coming. The next morning, Samuel dove into research. He read study after study, discovering that his doctor's warning wasn't exaggeration. It was cold, hard science. The sitting-rising test, SRT, developed by Dr. Claudio Gil Araujo, had been proven to predict mortality better than blood pressure or cholesterol levels. A failure to perform it wasn't just a sign of weak muscles. It signaled a deterioration across multiple vital systems: balance, coordination, strength, even neurological health. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Samuel made a decision that would alter the course of his life. He wouldn't sit back and wait for his body to fail him. He was going to fight back, starting that very day. He pulled out his dusty yoga mat, set a timer for 4 minutes, and committed to whatever it would take to reclaim his strength. With trembling legs and a pounding heart, Samuel began his first humble attempts at the 4-minute routine. It was messy. It was frustrating. But with each attempt, something stronger than muscle was building inside him: determination. And that, he knew deep down, could make all the difference. Just 2 weeks into his new daily routine, Samuel's body was already showing small but encouraging signs of progress. He could lower himself onto one knee without grabbing onto furniture, and his balance had improved enough that he no longer swayed dangerously when standing on one foot. He felt a glimmer of hope he hadn't felt in years. One Sunday morning, as golden sunlight streamed through the windows, Samuel's daughter, Amelia, and his energetic 7-year-old grandson, Liam, stopped by for a surprise visit. After a hearty breakfast, Liam, full of energy, raced into the living room and dropped a toy truck on the floor. Without thinking, he called out, "Grandpa, can you get it for me?" Samuel froze for a moment. This was it, an unplanned real-world test. No time to psych himself up, no room for excuses. Heart pounding, he bent his knees, eased himself down without holding on to anything, picked up the toy, and slowly, steadily, rose back up to standing. No hands, no knees. Amelia's mouth fell open in disbelief. "Dad, when did you start doing that again?" she asked, her voice thick with emotion. Samuel, still clutching the toy truck, realized what had just happened. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't smooth like it once was, but he had done it, and in front of the people he loved most. Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes. For the first time in months, Samuel wasn't just fighting against decline, he was winning. But the real surprise came the next day. After sharing the moment with a neighbor who worked at a local health clinic, Samuel was invited to participate in a community senior fitness program focusing on functional longevity. There, he met dozens of others just like him, men and women who had quietly accepted their declining abilities without realizing they could fight back. Seeing their faces, hearing their struggles, Samuel understood. His personal battle wasn't just about his own future anymore. He had the chance to inspire others to reclaim their strength, their freedom, and perhaps even their lives. The unexpected spark that started with one small victory on a sunny Sunday morning was about to ignite something much bigger than Samuel had ever imagined. Before that pivotal Sunday, Samuel had always viewed aging as an inevitable downhill journey, something you simply endured with grace and a little stubbornness, growing slower, needing help, becoming less independent. He believed these were just natural parts of the deal. But now, as he stood taller and felt a new steadiness in his steps, something inside him shifted. He realized that aging wasn't just about losing strength, it was about losing confidence. And if you lost confidence, you surrendered the fight long before your body truly gave out. Samuel began to see his daily routine not as a burden, but as a profound act of self-respect. Each squat, each balance exercise, each floor rise wasn't just strengthening his muscles, it was rebuilding his identity. He wasn't just getting older, he was evolving, adapting, refusing to become invisible. The small victories piled up. Walking up the porch steps without gripping the railing, squatting down to pull weeds without collapsing into the dirt, picking up Liam for a bear hug without fearing he'd lose his balance. These everyday moments, the ones he used to take for granted, now felt like celebrations of life itself. The biggest change, however, was in his mindset. Samuel stopped thinking about how old he was and started thinking about how capable he could become. He wasn't chasing youth. He was chasing vitality, presence, and the ability to fully participate in the moments that truly mattered. And he realized something even more powerful. It wasn't just about him. His grandson was watching, his daughter was watching. Every effort he made was a living lesson he was passing down. That strength, resilience, and hope never had an expiration date. By changing his perspective, Samuel wasn't just adding years to his life, he was adding life to his years. And that, he thought as he rose effortlessly from the floor one bright afternoon, was a legacy far more valuable than anything money could buy. Samuel's transformation didn't go unnoticed. One afternoon, while attending a community health fair, a wellness coordinator named Grace approached him after he effortlessly demonstrated getting up from the floor during a workshop. "Samuel," she said, her eyes wide with excitement, "we need people like you. Would you consider leading a beginner's class for seniors struggling with mobility?" At first, Samuel laughed, waving off the idea. Him? Teach others? He had spent decades flying planes, not coaching exercise classes. But that night, as he sat on his porch listening to the crickets sing, the idea began to take root. Maybe this wasn't just about saving his own life. Maybe it was about helping others reclaim theirs. The following week, Samuel nervously agreed to lead a small group at the local senior center. On the first day, 5 people showed up, all cautious, all skeptical, just as he had been. But Samuel didn't lecture them. He shared his story, the fear, the frustration, the small victories. And in doing so, he built a bridge of trust. He showed them simple movements. He encouraged them when they stumbled. He celebrated every tiny success like it was a gold medal. And slowly, just as he had transformed, so did they. Samuel watched with pride as men and women in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, rediscovered confidence in their bodies. They laughed, they cheered each other on, and they began to dream bigger than they had in years. This opportunity gave Samuel something he hadn't even realized he was missing: a sense of purpose deeper than personal survival. He was no longer just fighting aging for himself. He was lighting a path for others, showing them that it's never too late to reclaim strength, dignity, and joy. In helping others rise from the floor, Samuel found himself rising too. Not just physically, but spiritually. He wasn't just surviving anymore. He was leading. And in doing so, he discovered that sometimes the greatest gift you can give yourself is to lift others alongside you. Over the next several months, Samuel's life blossomed in ways he could have never predicted. What started as a desperate attempt to regain basic mobility evolved into something far more powerful: a total rebirth of his spirit. Teaching the beginner's class quickly became the highlight of his week. Every new face that walked through the door reminded Samuel of where he had been, filled with fear, frustration, and the quiet sadness that comes from feeling your body betray you. And every smile of progress he witnessed became fuel for his own growth. Samuel wasn't just regaining strength, he was forging resilience, patience, and compassion. For the first time in his life, he realized that true strength wasn't measured by muscle or stamina, but by the willingness to stand back up after you fall and to help others do the same. His relationships deepened too. His daughter Amelia noticed how much lighter and more joyful he had become. His grandson, Liam, now looked up to him not just as a grandpa, but as a true role model of perseverance and grit. Even his old neighbors, once merely polite acquaintances, became dear friends after Samuel invited them to join his growing group of floor warriors, as they jokingly called themselves. Most importantly, Samuel's fear of aging, that deep, gnawing anxiety he once carried, was gone. In its place was a profound sense of empowerment. He understood now that while he couldn't control every aspect of getting older, he had full control over how he responded to it. Samuel wasn't defined by the number of candles on his birthday cake anymore. He was defined by the fire still burning in his heart, the fire to move, to teach, to inspire, and to live with intention. Looking back, Samuel realized that failing that simple movement test wasn't the end of his story. It was the beginning of a whole new chapter. And the best part? The story was still being written. one strong, steady step at a time. One breezy spring afternoon, Samuel stood before a packed room at the community center. Seniors, family members, even a few local doctors had gathered to hear him speak about his journey. As he looked around, Samuel's chest swelled with pride, not for himself, but for the countless lives he had touched simply by refusing to give up. He picked up the microphone, hands steady, voice warm. 6 months ago, Samuel began, I couldn't stand up from the floor without help. I thought losing strength was just part of getting older. I thought my best days were behind me. But I was wrong. The room fell silent, every ear hanging on his words. I learned that aging doesn't have to mean surrendering. It doesn't mean sitting on the sidelines watching life pass you by. It means adapting. It means fighting for every ounce of vitality you still have. And it means believing that your story isn't over. Not by a long shot. A few in the crowd wiped away tears. Samuel smiled, feeling a deep connection with every person in the room. He knew they weren't just listening. They were seeing a reflection of their own fears, their own hopes, and maybe, just maybe, their own second chances. If you can get up once, Samuel said, his voice thick with emotion, you can get up 1,000 times. If you can reclaim one movement, you can reclaim your whole life. He set down the microphone and dropped lightly to the floor. Without hesitation, he rose smoothly to his feet, strong, steady, and smiling. The room erupted in applause, not just for the movement, but for what it symbolized: courage, resilience, and the unstoppable power of the human spirit. Samuel's journey had started with fear, but it ended and began again with hope. And now he wasn't just living longer, he was living better. Samuel's journey teaches us one of life's most powerful lessons. Small actions create monumental change. It's easy to believe that aging strips away our strength, our independence, and our dreams. But the truth is, surrender is a choice, and so is resilience. Through one simple yet profound movement, the ability to rise from the floor without help, Samuel unlocked a door not only to physical health, but to renewed hope, purpose, and joy. His story reminds us that the human spirit is stronger than any calendar, any diagnosis, any number. You are never too old, too weak, or too far gone to change your story. Sometimes the most transformative battles we fight aren't the grand ones. They are the daily choices to rise, to move, and to believe that the best chapters are still waiting to be written. You hold the pen. Start today. Today, take 5 quiet minutes for yourself. Sit down on the floor, carefully, and attempt to rise without using your hands or knees. Whether you succeed or struggle, don't judge yourself. Just observe, then commit to 4 minutes a day. Chair squats, one-leg balances, gentle floor touches, and knee lifts. Track your progress with a simple journal or a quick phone video once a week. Small steps lead to giant leaps over time. Within weeks, you'll feel stronger, steadier, and more alive. Your body is ready to rebuild. Your spirit is ready to soar. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and share with your friends. Your support keeps these stories alive. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if today's story touched your heart, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, stay well, and see you in the next story.